what I would like to say to you all, congratulations, well done as Year 7 parents for surviving the start of this journey. I know that there would have been tears and tantrums and upsets, and there would have been, someone would have got a -5, and there would have been cries and phone calls home, and someone would have had a fallout. And it's a really emotional experience, the first 6 weeks of Year 7. And that's the reason that this meeting here, which is my kind of key role in the school, which is achievement and progress, that we wait really until after that first 6 weeks when the emotions have maybe settled down a bit and we can start to look at some of the other aspects of college life. So we're here today to talk about achievement and progress. You should all have a little pack. You should have an envelope that was addressed to you, and if you haven't, you'll be able to pick that up at the end from where you came in. And then you should also have a booklet that says Year 7 curriculum maps, and then 2 sheets of paper. Our aims for today are just to make sure that you kind of understand what's going on with the Year 7s in terms of their curriculum, but also that you understand our reporting system, because it is different, and the way that we report here will be different to every other secondary school in the UK, and that is because the government has taken away what used to be the levelling system at Key Stage 3, and they've said that schools have the freedom to create their own assessment structure. So we have created our own assessment structure, so we want to kind of explain to you how that works within the college setting. And also, so you can put a few faces to names, because you will get an awful lot of emails, and I'm very aware that at primary school it's a very tight network of people that you come into contact with, and in secondary school there's just hundreds of us, and so it's just an opportunity for you to know who we are as well. So in terms of reporting, today is your first key reporting deadline. You will be able to access online today and via Schoolbase your reports. Normally we don't print out parental reports and give them to students to take home. Maybe for obvious reasons, but at secondary school they don't always seem to make the transition from school to home for some reason. But also because it means that with our borders, obviously you're quite a way away, so it means that you can access them at the same time as everybody else. So today they are printed out, those progress reviews, and they are in that pack for you. You'll have other progress reviews at kind of 6 weekly spots throughout the year, and you'll also have your parents' consultation evening, which is in January, where you'll get to meet all of the teachers and have a chat with them about your son or daughter's progress. So, the first thing I want to say to you is, as much as my job is all about kind of data and looking at data, the key thing is that I really want to impress on you that your children are far more than just numbers to us. There are lots of them in Year 7, and the numbers that are created are based on the work that they do. And that work might be an oral feedback, it might be a formal test, it might be a project that they've worked on over a period of time. But there are huge amounts of different types of work that the students here do. And they are each different curriculum area will assess in a slightly different way. So when you look through their books, you will see slightly different methods of teacher marking. When teachers do marks, they will have chosen whatever it is that the class has done, and they will then set about marking it. And when we mark work, what we're doing is we're looking at giving students a score, and that is on our flight path system. So with the PRs that you've got, you will notice that for a flight path, everybody needs a starting point. So at the top of your progress review, you will notice that there are a series of numbers. If your child did the Key Stage 2 stats, at the top it will tell you their Key Stage 2 scores that you already know. So it will have on there, at the top here, it will have their score for English and their score for maths. And at the end it will say something which is called CAT. Mean SAS. So a CAT mean score, I'll explain a little bit to you in a moment, but the CAT tests, we're different. So if some children you might have known for transition days at Wyndham High, when they did their transition days in June, they sat 3 hours of tests. We don't do them in June, we did ours over the last 2 weeks. They've just sat those CAT tests, and their mean score, so their average score, is on the top of that sheet as well. The scores become their start score. So what they finished Key Stage 2 on is where they start Key Stage 3. So if this child scored 98 on their Key Stage 2 score, they've then started Year 7 English on 98 as well. And the same will be true for maths. For all the other subjects, subjects, what we simply do is we use an average. So we take an average of the English and maths score, and that becomes the starting point for all the other subjects. Now, as you are aware, that will obviously cause some problems. So we might have someone who's very academically able, but they might struggle with more physical activities. So what we might notice is that they have a very high starting score for physical education that doesn't necessarily translate to what we see in the classroom. However, it's a starting point, so it means that our staff have got a starting point of where those students are beginning. For those students who don't have the Key Stage 2 starting scores, what we use is we use the CAT test. So the CAT test will provide for us an estimation that if that child had done the Key Stage 2 tests, what scores would they have achieved. So in your envelope, as well as your progress review, you also have another report, and that report is your child's CAT report. It's really detailed. It talks to you a little bit about the type of tests that they did, and then it goes on and it will tell you for your child what the CAT test suggests are their areas of strength and maybe the areas where they will flourish most within the curriculum. It will also give some indication of, again, a flight path, that if they're starting at this point, where might they end up for their GCSEs. Again, the CAT tests are a suite of tests. There are 4 different assessments that the children sit. Verbal reasoning, kind of numerical reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, which is kind of thinking with shapes, and then spatial ability, which is kind of shape and space. So they sit those 4 tests, and that produces for us some information. Again, it is information that we as teachers are able to access, and we as teachers are then able to use. People are always interested as to whereabouts their child falls. It doesn't really matter to us as teachers, because we'll see each of your children as individuals. But just as kind of a guide, our means averages in Wyndham College range from 69 to 136. Those children who've got a mean score between 69 and 80, they will be being supported by our SEN team. Maybe they might be having some additional one-to-one support. Those students who scored 126 or above, they are what we would call our higher level learners, or our higher potential learners. So those students who we might encourage into sort of extension activities during their time at the college. The progress review that you have at the moment simply has the starting points on and the attitude to learning grades. As the year progresses, you will see that it's got assessment points. So assessment point 1, which is now, is not applicable. We haven't gone and we've made your children do the CATS test and then a load more tests within their lesson. What we've done is we've just said for this first PR, it's just attitudinal, it's just how they're getting on within their lessons. But over the course of the year, these numbers will fill up, and you will see how they are doing. So if their number at the moment is blue, you would expect their number to stay on blue as time progresses. And if you look at the sheet that you collected as you came in, you will see that you can then kind of make an estimate that if they started on blue and they carry on blue, we're looking at maybe around a 5 at GCSE when they finish. If they started on the red, then we may be looking at towards a grade 8 at GCSE at the end. These are only estimations. Children are all completely different, and their flight paths will go up and down and round and round. And part of that is due to the nature of our curriculum as well. So when you get your PRs, you also now have your curriculum booklet. So you can have a little look in there and see, well, what is this score based on? You know, the school is saying my child is more than just a number, so what does it mean? In your curriculum booklet, you can kind of look between and think, oh, well, they've been doing this in science at the moment, they've been doing space. I know, actually, my child is brilliant at space. They loved it at primary school. We got a season ticket to the National Space Centre. It's absolutely our thing. So you would expect them to get a higher mark. If, though, for example, it's something that you know that they've struggled with in science, and maybe they've struggled more with biology and understanding about the body, then their mark might go down. So you can use the curriculum booklet alongside your progress review, so you can see whereabouts your child's strengths and weaknesses are. And those curriculum booklets are new for this year, and they're up to date. So they've all just been updated in line with what the curriculum looks like this year for our Year 7s. So this overview document is not something that we hide from the children. We use it all the time. It's printed in their journals, and often when they have their assessment match from their teachers, they will get a copy of this grid, and they will be told, you know, you're in the blue zone. If you want to stay in the blue zone, these are the type of skills you need to keep showing. Or you're in the orange zone. If you want to move up to the yellow zone, these are the types of things you need to be doing. So we use those colours all the time with the children, so they will become increasingly familiar as the year goes on with the colours. Because sometimes holding all those numbers in your head, even for me, someone who loves data and loves numbers, it's challenging. You know, it's challenging for young people to hold all those numbers. So the colours often make it easier for them to be able to track where they are and how they are doing. So where should my child be? We use our starting point, and then we say that during the course of the year, every child should make on average a 10 points progress per subject area. So, and then we can track that through. If your child is making above the expected progress, so they're doing more than 10 points progress within the course of the year, we would be expecting that within the classroom the teacher is looking at the work that is set to make sure that they are stretched and they are challenged, and also maybe reviewing their target for the following year. It might be that their target goes up for the following year and they are expected maybe to achieve more the following year, because for all of these things, it's a movable feast. If a child is doing well, we're not going to say, well, no, we don't want you to carry on doing well, just stay where you are, you've got to your target, just stay there. We want to encourage them to move beyond what their target areas are. If your child is below the expected 10 points progress, again, it's looking at the work that's being offered, making sure there's suitable differentiation within the classrooms, and if there is setting within a subject area, it might be looking at the set that the child is within. There will also be conversations between the tutor and the subject teacher to make sure that if the tutor will know the child very well, so if they know something works in one subject, they can share that with the subject teacher to make sure that there's that dialogue about best learning styles for individuals. The attitude to learning grades that you've got today, again, children will be very familiar with what these mean. Children will want to be outstanding. That's where they want to be, and there is a big fuss that will have been made in house of them about their average attitude to learning scores. We've got some students who will have received prizes today for having the highest average attitude to learning. Again, their attitude to learning scores are published, the grade descriptions are published in their journals, so they have a reference all the time as to what those attitude to learning grades mean. I've printed them out for you today, so you've got a copy of those as well. On one side it's the teacher grading, on the other side it's the tutor. So their form tutor will give them a score for their attitude to learning, as will their classroom teacher. So all of this reporting, like I say, in the future will be online. So you should have received an email in the summer about accessing our online reporting system, which is called Schoolbase. To find that, you simply type Schoolbase Wyndham into a search engine, and then this is the page that will come up, and it will say Wyndham at the top, and then username and password. If you just type in Schoolbase, what you might find is you get a different school that comes up, because this isn't a system that only we use, lots of schools use it throughout the country. So you need to type in Schoolbase Wyndham, and then make sure you've got Wyndham written as the domain that you're searching for. You then log in using your username and password. Once you've done that, when you go to Common Documents, you'll be able to click on there and select Parental Reports, and then you will see your child's most recent PR, and that will be in chronological order, pitched against all the other progress reviews that they've received at their time in the college. When it appears, don't think that it's going to appear on the screen. It appears as a little bar at the bottom like this, and you just press open, and then it will open for you. On this system as well, you can look at all of their behaviour points. So we have a +5, -5 system for kind of everyday things that happen in the college, and some students might also be rewarded higher marks, and that's a +25 or a +50 for exceptional pieces of work. We've had our first year 7s this week receive their bronze awards because they've done so well with their behaviour points. behaviour points will appear on the progress reviews. Your progress reviews that I've printed out, I printed them out before today because I was trying to be organised, but in trying to be organised, I did it before the button had been pressed to upload the behaviour points. So everybody will say 1,000 because every child starts with 1,000 points and then points get added or taken away. So when you log on, that's when you can see how many behaviour points they've got. You'll also see a comment from the teachers as to why they received those. So did they receive it for prep? Did they receive it for a positive attitude? What was the reason that they received those points? If you have any problems accessing Schoolbase, usually it's a 48-hour turnaround. You just email reporting at Wyndham College and you will get an email back which is helping you out. It's obviously now the school holidays. So it won't be a 48-hour turnaround because although the lady may look at her email, she's not actually employed in holiday time. So if you can't access Schoolbase and you don't get a response within 48 hours, it is because our member of staff who deals with those queries is off on holiday at the same time as teachers are. If you have an issue about a whole PR, then you go to the tutor or you go to the house parent. If it's just one subject, go directly to that class teacher and speak to that class teacher about it. If it's something to do with SCND, then email or speak to Miss Marianne or your child's learning mentor. And they will be able to get back with you about those queries. So if they're specific about your child, then email the tutor, the head of house, the house parent, the subject teacher. If it's about accessing the system, that's when you go to reporting online. And you can always email me as well, because I do lots of the queries about reporting as well. So that's a really quick whistle-stop tour of what these PRs are and what the information he's got. I'm going to pass over to Kay, who is our Year 7 Maths lead, who's going to talk to you a little bit about maths in Year 7.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Kay Loden. I work within the Maths department and I am Year 7 to 9 learning lead, so very much focused on the children coming in and how they learn for those sort of first 3 years at the college. It's very important to us that we really focus on the core numeracy and algebra skills of the pupils, and they do a lot of numeracy at primary. There's more and more focus on that. But when they get to us, what we want to also do is embrace the problem solving and the reasoning around number work. So whilst you'll have really enthusiastic children, yeah, I can do this, I can do that. When we then probe into it and ask, well, can you solve problems using those skills? Can you explain those skills? They're the bits we're trying to tease out of them. So sometimes there's that initial like, oh, this is so easy. It's great, they are really enthusiastic, but we are stretching them, but often breadth rather than just doing more of the same of what they did at primary. We also decided a few years back to focus purely on numeracy and algebra in Year 7. It's had huge benefits. The GCSE as is now, the new GCSE, is hugely weighted to problem solving with a lot of number and algebra in it. And if we can get that right and the understanding right in Year 7, it helps them hugely when they get to the shape and space work and any data handling work thereafter. They know a lot of shape and space, they feel comfortable with it, but what's lovely by Year 8, they can do it algebraically, which is what we're aiming for. So that it is mainly focused on number and algebra, but we bring shape into that when we're doing the algebra. We might do some perimeter of shapes or elements of shapes. But what we do is it's all about the way they learn with us in Year 7, and that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about today. It is mainly, the new GCSE is really highlighting how effective this way of study is. There's a sheet there you can have a look at, and it gives you a map of the kind of topics they'll be learning, shows you the number strands and the algebra strands, but you're welcome to have a look at that. In addition to the core work we do, which I'll share with you in a minute, there are one-to-one numeracy sessions every fortnight, so throughout the year there will be this ongoing focus, because there's a tendency to build it up right till the end of Year 6. Great, I know my numeracy, and then it kind of patters off through Year 7 just because they don't see it, and we all know just repetition of those core skills help them. So by the end of Year 7, hopefully they feel so much more confident, and they'll go into Year 8, and we also continue to focus on numeracy then. This year we're rolling out something new as well, where we will pull students out on a one-to-one with teachers, with us from the department, to work with them to understand a little bit more about those key skills if they need it in order to bring their numeracy up to where it will be. And we've sorted out a programme for that this term. So there'll be some one-to-2 work going on with the teachers in the department, And we also organise for some Year 12 and Year 10 mentors to work with some of the Year 7s if we feel they need it. Purely for the variety, and they often learn a lot better from other students, and it's good for them to see where they can end up, and that can be very effective too. The thing I really wanted to share with you today is the process they'll go through every half term. So every half term they'll learn a chunk of work which is shown in your curriculum map. At the end of the half term they'll be asked to write a learning summary, and it's a summary of all they've learnt in that half term. And it'll take them a little while to get good at it, and my Year 7 groups have just written their first one, and I'm helping them to sort of show them how to do it. But they'll take all of the information from their book and put it onto a learning summary. That'll then be used in what we call a mini assessment. So it's nothing formal, it's not what's going to get reported on there, but at the end of the half term we'll do a little assessment written for our group that says, have you remembered the key bits of learning that we've done this half term? They can bring their learning summary into it, but they can't use their books. So it's really important that they get good at sort of summarising their learning and then replaying it in this sort of assessment environment. Following that, more importantly, they'll have what we call a struggle session. So I, as a Year 7 teacher, might take their work in, I'll then mark their little mini assessments, I take in their learning summaries, and I have a look and identify maybe 2 key areas that each child has struggled with. When they come together for the next lesson, we call it a struggle session, and they thoroughly enjoy them once they get used to it. And it's an opportunity where we all work together, so I'll split them into sort of 7 little teams. They'll all have a whiteboard around the room, and there'll be teachers. Those that maybe have done really well, they become the teacher, and they'll help a small group of 4 or 5 children, and they'll be dotted around the room. And they are lovely, lovely sessions. There was one going on today for Year 8, and another teacher, you just walk in and it's wonderful to see. So it's great that the students are getting to learn from other students. It's stretching your most able, it's giving everybody an opportunity to work on their areas of weakness. And that happens every half term. So, 5 or 6 of those later at the end of the year, they're learning how to learn, or that's what we're hoping to teach them. And just brief examples, that's, for example, the top half of a learning summary that a child might produce in Year 8, because we continue with this struggle sessions in Year 8. They'll put, by Year 8, they might put together a whole poster or booklet. At the minute in Year 7, we might give them a little template to fill in, but they're welcome to make that as big or as lovely as they want. But at the beginning, we might make it a bit more structured for them. And then the kind of feedback you'll get, obviously this is part of a big assessment, but it'll be focused on the bit in sort of red and pink is saying from the teacher, well, there's 2 areas you've struggled with in the assessment here. Use the struggle session to help you. At the end of the struggle session, we always get the pupil to write in green how they felt that's, how that's gone, or has that been, if that's been useful to them. And for example, this child said this struggle session's helped me out a lot because I now know how to draw triangles, and I'm also much better at doing 2D shapes. So they're finding that session useful. And what we would just ask really is kind of if you can get involved in that. If there's one thing you talk to them about their maths, how is that process of them learning going? Are they able to do their learning summaries? How did they get on in their struggle sessions? It'd be really nice if you could show interest in that. When you have a look at the little booklets, there's some comments from the children that get to learn from other children. They really, really enjoy it, and they feel those sessions give them that opportunity to work on the bits that they struggled with as an individual, not what the whole group struggled with. And then the comments, I think, on the next one are from the subject experts. So you might think, well, I've got a child here that knew the majority of it, and we need a few of those because they always become, so I don't lead those sessions, I kind of go round and listen to the sessions, giving them crib notes, but whoever's running it, the children will be doing the teaching, and that's really lovely too. They thoroughly enjoy it. I feel more confident teaching what I already learned, so I understand more about it than what I knew. So that kind of feeling is great for them. How can you help? The curriculum map's in there, so you'll see the topics we're covering, but it's very much again around the problem solving and reasoning that goes with that, not just face value what it says on there. Show interest in what they're doing. The mini assessments and struggles the mini assessments and learning summaries will go into their book after each half term typically, because I've got them at home to mark now for the holidays, but they'll go in their books after half term, and then they'll do their struggles, maybe the first lesson back. Their struggle areas, talk to them about those. Could they do some extra work on those? Is that things you could look at with them? You can see in the mini assessment the bits they've struggled with, and they'll correct those. And then finally, there's a lovely My Maths website there, which some of you might have seen at primary. The logon's Wyndham and the password is Square. It's a great site. You will find it very user-friendly. It's all broken down by topic, but it might be really useful for you to help step your child through it the first few times. They are perfectly capable, and we'll take them in the computer room. But, a little bit of enthusiasm in showing them. Maybe in the holidays, each holiday, they could go on there and pick a few modules each to do. But it would be really good just to have that practice. That's what it looks like, the actual screen when you see it. The only other thing maybe to raise is regards the data point, the starting data point. In maths in particular, we have a small group of pupils that didn't come with their Key Stage 2 data. So your starting point on your information sheet is Key Stage 2 data if we had it. If we haven't, we've used their CATS score, and sometimes there's a slight discrepancy. The CATS is looking quite generous at the minute compared. So if it's just something to be aware of. If it drops slightly, which is what Ms Arnold was saying, that is going to happen. But if it is that your child didn't come with Key Stage 2 data, there might be a discrepancy there. But thank you very much.
So, in a bizarre twist of fate, I am an English teacher, but one of our teachers has gone on maternity leave slightly earlier than expected today. So Miss Logan was meant to be here, is not here because she's trying to sort something out on behalf of that member of staff. So I'll just briefly talk to you about the English curriculum. The aims of English are very similar to maths. It's all about working still on literacy and making sure that reading culture. We know at primary schools children are brilliant at reading every night, and there is this real reading culture. And it's about embracing that as students move into Year 7 and they hit adolescence. It's also about a can-do, will-try attitude within English, and making sure that we improve their chances of succeeding in English as they go along by feeling confident about English rather than something that they're scared about. What we try and do is we do topic-based learning within English, and within those topics the students will look at a real breadth of different pieces of literature and language, and within that they will look at the assessments will focus in a similar way to the GCSEs. Fortnightly, they do a Let's Think in English session. They tend not to write in those sessions, so they're quite popular with the young people, but they're all about discussing. So they're given a text which is quite tricky. So there might be, so this week we looked at a George Orwell extract with the Year 7s that I was working with, and we looked at that, and it was all about how would they decode that text and work out what was going on, and feeling confident that they could have a go at trying to read a really tricky text and come up with their own opinions. We also do weekly spelling tests just to kind of keep them linked, and they're just spelling rules and patterns. So sometimes parents will contact us and say, well, they're too easy, these spellings. It's not about them necessarily being really hard, it's about them remembering the basics and remembering just those letter strings and patterns. And we also have a reading challenge where we ask children to fill in and tick the books that they've read, and those that have read a certain number of them, they will get a certain +5s and then points as the year goes on. Just like Kay was saying, we mark in a very similar way, so they'll be told their assessment area, then there's a what went well and an even better if, and the children get an opportunity to say what their target will be. We use a green pen response that you'll see throughout the school, so similar to the struggle session, they will have the opportunity within the lesson to answer a question or read a piece of work based on what their mark was in the assessment. So it's not like the assessment happens and then it gets locked away in the filing cabinet. They do the assessment and then they get to respond to what has happened. Again, how could you guys help? Well, what we would love is we would love for you to continue to talk about reading at home, sharing reading, encouraging reading at home, helping with prep, helping maybe testing with the spellings, discuss the assessments that are going on, and also maybe encourage them a little bit like in maths with the My Maths. BBC Bitesize is a brilliant little website. There's loads of quizzes and videos and clips that students can have a go on. And we have lots of extracurricular opportunities. We have a book club on a Wednesday that students are invited to go to, and that is students who are shadowing the Carnegie Medal. We also have the Kids Lit Quiz, which is children who are really interested in books. We take them along and they go to a competition, and there's lots of prizes. And also we have a craft club, and the craft club is run by Miss Bird, and within that they will look at sometimes using language in an interesting way to make crafts as well. Both literacy and numeracy, there will be some students who have really struggled, who do need some more one-to-one or one-to-two support, and we have two teachers in post, Mrs Mel Jones and Mrs Jane Brimble, and they will work with students in small groups who are what we would call our catch-up students, those people who maybe come to secondary school and are struggling with core literacy and numeracy. They follow a really simple assess, plan, do, review cycle over 10 weeks worth of sessions, and then they will go back into their regular lessons. They don't come out of English to do more English or come out of maths to do more maths. They'll come out of different subject areas to really try and help them with their confidence in literacy and numeracy. We also have sessions for our EAL learners with Mrs. Alison Rigney, and again she will support those students where English is not their first language, maybe their second or sometimes even their fourth this year in Year 7, and really support those students with their English skills. Last thing from me is just about pupil premium funding. Those students who are eligible for the pupil premium, you should have already received an email from me if your child is eligible for pupil premium funding. But if you think that you would be eligible, so if you are a Forces family and you don't currently receive the pupil premium, or if you are someone who receives free school meals now or have done in the past 6 years, or if your child is adopted from local authority care, those children are entitled to an additional pot of money that we can use to support them in their day-to-day life in college. That might be from music lessons to sports kits to uniform to later on in the school going on something like the D&B. So if you are eligible for that money, or you think you might be, I am the person to contact. So just contact me and I'll be able to support helping you out either applying for the money or passing the money to where it needs to be for your child. Okay? Just going to pass you over to Graham very briefly. Here is one of our heads of house. Just wants to sort of come and say hello to you all. Energy at the end, Mr. Campbell.
Yeah. I'm here to talk on behalf of the heads of house. I'm Graham Campbell, I'm head of appeal. And really we are all a team. Although we do slightly different things, we're kind of seen as the more pastoral role. But we also get involved in the academics as well. So picking up on the Year 7 reports that you will have just seen this week, to put into context the attitude to learning grades for Year 7 were absolutely fantastic across the school. And they range from an average of 1.36 up to a point of 2.4. They're all fantastic. When we intervene with some of those students, you'll get letters from us for any student who's got a PR average below 1.8. We say 1.8 is the ultimate success, because of that, the students will have got 4 or 5 outstanding comments from their teachers, and the rest of them being good. So you'll get a letter home, the students will then get 50 points from the heads of house, and that'd be fantastic. On the other side, we would intervene more negatively if a PR was over 2.5. So you can see, obviously, to start with, that there's no Year 7 that the heads of house will be intervening with by putting them onto a report or bringing them in for a little bit of extra conversations. So that is a brilliant start. Okay? And a lot of that is down to our tutor teams as well. So if you have any issues to start with, our tutors are kind of like a triage service for the heads of house. In the past, because we're heads of house, people have assumed, yes, we live here, we are here from 6:30 in the morning till 10:30 at night before we sort of turn the alarms on and waddle off for a glass of wine. For it all to start again, and that's pretty much 7 days a week. Now the advantage for that is there will be times that the boarding parents, obviously we will contact you in the evenings, but we'll do that with day students and parents as well. So it's not unheard of for you to get a phone call from school at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and it's quite a unique situation to be in. But that's fantastic. It means that the conversations that we can have are ready and they're easy and they're available. But we'll try and do that after you've contacted the tutor to start with. So if the tutor can't really help, what they will do is they will ask us and then we'll come and talk to you. So from our point of view, heads of house, everybody works as a brilliant team, but the tutors should really be the first port of call. All of you, hopefully, because we've asked all our tutors to do it and we've chased them up, would have had an email from your child's tutors. So you should know who they are. Their email address will obviously be attached. Email them. Okay? They have time, they will see your children for 20 minutes every single morning, and there'll probably be 1 or 2 issues a day that they have to deal with. So there's plenty of time for them to do it. Obviously, if you have other concerns, by all means, contact our staff. So if there is an issue, if you perceive that someone is being mean or unkind to your son or daughter, let us know. We're the ones that within the house then will be able to pick up and deal with that quite quickly. So anything that happens kind of behavioural wise will be our our remit. We also have a big academic role, but predominantly we are there for all of the behaviour issues. Hopefully, we won't have to make too much of an interaction. Hopefully. Okay? Our boarding parents we will see all the time, and that's delightful. Day student parents, by all means, if you want to come and see us, phone up, make an appointment, pop in and have a word. Okay, we are there, as I say, you know, whenever. If you wanted to come in at 7 o'clock at night, you can come in at 7 o'clock at night because we'll be there. Okay, so that is one of the advantages that you do have. So from us as heads of house, please use the tutors. We will support everything that Becky does, everything that all the departments do, and we talk regularly. Okay, so that is it. It's been a fantastically long half term. I know that in about 10 minutes we'll all be drinking for different reasons. Okay, you'll be drinking for a reason, thinking, oh my God, I've got to look after my kids for 2 weeks. We'll be going, God, thank God, you've got your kids to look after for 2 weeks. So from us, it's been 7 weeks. It's been a real joy, and it always is a privilege, an absolute privilege, especially to look after your sons and daughters in the boarding houses. But we have interactions, and I think this is the first time I've spoken to all of the new Year 7s and know all the Year 7s in my house. Okay, and that's really been very, very quick, because I know from talking from a field point of view, they are all absolutely amazing. Okay, and I can say that from all the heads of house. We all think your sons and daughters this year are going to be an exceptional cohort. Okay, so we hope in 5 years' time for even more record-breaking success. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll just leave this up and I'll put it up at the end, but just a reminder that we have loads of extracurricular clubs going on, and Wyndham Life 1 is open to everybody, and Wyndham Life 1 is those clubs that happen at lunchtime or those that happen directly after school. So it's just a taste of there really of the things which are open at the moment and available to your young people in Year 7. It does change as they go up to school, there are different things available. Charlie Wyatt, unfortunately, has been very poorly this term, who leads on the Wyndham Life programme. However, if you do email to that address, if you have a concern or a query, that will be forwarded to the right person so that they can support you. I'm just going to hand over to Karina, who is the chair of our PSA. Just wanted to kind of, again, just another face to put to a name.
Thank you very much. I'm going to very briefly run through this because I'm very conscious of the time. So yes, I'm Karina Farrer, I'm the chair of the Parent Staff Association. Around school it's called the PSA, so that's what it is if you hear that name. And we're basically a group of parents, carers and staff that help support the college and the college community. And what that consists of is we provide absolutely brilliant social events, so everything from family bingo night, which some of you hopefully attended, to Halloween balls, to our fabulous winter fair that's happening on the 11th of November. We also have a Chilean quiz night with a new head of school round this year. Dan Brown is busily writing. And we also do a comedy night in the summer. But our aim is to provide those great social events for the community, but also our aim is obviously to fundraise. And the reason why we do social events is they raise a lot of money for us, but we also provide a link to the college. So if there's anything you want to know, we've got lots of parents that have gone all the way through the college that are part of the team, then please drop us a line, send us an email and ask us, or come and find us in our PSA shop at the weekends. So apart from the social events, what do? We run our on-site PSA uniform and equipment shop, and hopefully some of you will have already been there. It's open every single Saturday, 11:30 to 12:30, except obviously exeats or end of terms or half terms. And we provide all sorts of kit there, everything from uniform, branded schoolwear to mouth guards. So come and have a look. We also run our own PSA 200 Club lottery, and that's got a limited membership of 200. We do have a few spaces left, and we have a prize draw every September, which is a guaranteed £1,500 prize draw, plus monthly prizes as well. So it's a great way to support our fundraising. It's for the bursary fund and education. And we also have a couple of other things that we do to raise funds online. We use the Easy Fundraising Scheme, which some of you may have seen. You can join it by going online to their website, and basically whenever you shop online, if you do it via that scheme, it doesn't cost you anything at all, but it raises money for us. It has all of the well-known retailers, more than 2,000 in total, so you'd be hard-pushed not to find one of those, be it when you're doing a holiday shopping, when you're doing a last-minute Christmas present or a birthday gift, have a look at that scheme. You don't need to come via us to sign up for it, just go to Easy Fundraising and follow the directions there. To give you an idea of it, it's actually raised over £3,000 for us, so it's a really significant scheme. And we also have our Bags to School textile recycling scheme as well, which is coming up this November. So we collect textiles, shoes, soft toys, and we fundraise through that too. And just to give you an idea of what we've actually achieved in the last year through social events and our fundraising, we've actually bought equipment for the college, for the clubs, and for students to have experiences. So we've raised more than £10,000 in the last year. So that included things like the new College Arts Festival, which happened in the summer, indoor cricket nets, a touchscreen display for the ICT department, language plays, a new sixth form PA system, catering equipment for the two Cooking for Fun clubs and Cooking for University clubs, and lastly some kit for the Windermere College netball team as well. So we really hope you'll get involved in one form or another. Come to a social event, come along to one of our committee meetings. They're really informal. If you just want to know more about us and what we do. And it's a really lovely way to feel part of the school community, which is why I joined originally, because there was no school gate any longer, and I wanted to sort of see really what the school was all about and get to know some parents and some carers that were here. And we're also very fond of our odd night out too. So if you have any questions, myself and some of the team are here, so come and find us at the end, and we can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. So my last little aside, a very shameless plug. We would love you. We are trying hugely this year to make our social media presence better. So you'll get to see more of the things that are happening within the college. So please do follow us on Facebook and on Twitter so that you can see what's going on in the college day to day. And please do come along to the Winter Fair and support the college on the 11th of November. So what next? You're more than welcome to stay and chat with myself, Graham, Mr Browning, PSA, Kay, or please do go and bless your children and have a lovely, lovely, wonderful half term. Thank you.